and welcome to the WANA webinar series. As you will notice, all participants have been muted. If you have a question to ask, please send your questions into the Q&A panel located on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, or by pressing the three-dot option along the bottom and selecting Q&A panel. Your questions will be answered after the presentation. If you have any technical issues, please send a private chat to the host, the directions of which you can find in the chat window. Thank you for joining, and please welcome Dr. Ralph Aquila of Fountain House.
Greetings, everyone. I want to welcome you all to what has been an outstanding series of webinars over the last year during this COVID crisis. I really would like to congratulate all who've been involved in the webinars. This is my first appearance. I've been following them very closely, and I think there has been some wonderful information. And again, a great collaboration between Clubhouse International, Clubhouse Europe, and Fountain over the last 9 months or so that have participated. So I am very proud and honored to be part of this. Today, we will be discussing wellness. I am going to start with maybe some bad news part, but then you're going to hear from our colleagues from Wellspring in Pennsylvania and Progress Place in Toronto, some good news in how we can address the issue of wellness and overcome some of the adversities that many individuals with serious mental illness face on a regular basis. So just a little bit of data. As you know, people with serious mental illness, and in particular schizophrenia, there is some data that shows that life expectancy has been reduced anywhere from 15 to 25 years. And the reason for that, in part, the medications, in part, lifestyle, and in particular poverty. Many individuals with serious mental illness are in a lower socioeconomic bracket. And finally, some gene issues. If you could put up the first slide, and my only slide, by the way. The good news is that the Clubhouse movement, and Fountain House in particular, has been looking at what's now become the buzz phrase, if you will, the social determinants of health. I think many of you have heard that. And what you see on the right side of this slide is basically what Fountain House and many other clubhouses have known all along. Housing, for example, as a key ingredient. Employment, education, relationships, and I'm going to underscore that as probably the most important piece of moving forward, because the community that a clubhouse creates is essential in getting people to the left side of this slide, which is also another buzz phrase, the integrated medicine, how behavioral health and primary care and specialties work together. But it is my opinion, and opinion of others, that without the community that you see over to the right, and without the social interventions, you will not be able to get the kind of success that is expected. So again, the notion of integrated care is key, but what a clubhouse provides, and what we oftentimes refer to as the community as being the essential ingredient, is what I think the most important aspect of getting people well. So with that, I am going to turn it over to our colleagues in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, Wellspring Clubhouse, to Jill and Denise.
Thanks, Ralph. So I'm going to introduce myself and then pass it along to Denise to introduce herself and get us started. My name is Jill Valiant. I am the director at Wellspring Clubhouse in Sellersville, Pennsylvania. I've been at the clubhouse for about 11 years, and I've been director for 5, and I am very happy to be here. And I'll let Denise introduce herself.
Hello, my name is Denise Culp, and I've been a member for 1 year now. I have grown a lot with Wellspring Clubhouse to learn to not isolate and socialize and insert myself back into the workplace by being an open, friendly, kind, encouraging, passionate, inspiring, motivating, and confidence-building environment.
I think we're ready for our first slide now, please.
Clubhouse Standard 28, the newest addition to the international standards for clubhouse programs, focuses on wellness and the importance of clubhouses integrating the work of wellness into our programs. But what does this mean? How can we operationalize the standard in our day-to-day clubhouse world? Next slide, please. Based on the work of Peggy Swarbrick, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, also known as SAMHSA, has adopted the 8 dimensions of wellness framework to focus on optimizing health. The 8 dimensions include emotional, spiritual, intellectual, physical, environmental, financial, occupational, and social. Each aspect of wellness can affect overall quality of life, and it's important to consider all aspects of health. This is especially important for people with mental health and substance use conditions because wellness directly relates to the quality and longevity of your life. These dimensions are interconnected, each dimension building on and impacting the others. When we look at these dimensions, it becomes clear that clubhouses have been ahead of the charge with wellness for quite some time. Clubhouses have always recognized the importance of each of these domains and have always focused on building communities that support our membership to improve all aspects of their lives. When we take this framework alongside Standard 28, a framework and context for building clubhouse wellness programs emerges. Next slide, please.
So then the question becomes, where do we begin? When we consider how to implement wellness within a clubhouse, that's the common question that comes up. How do we make sure that our clubhouses can remain the strong, vibrant, and multifaceted communities that we have strived so hard to become? It all begins with the foundations of our clubhouses, what Ralph had mentioned, with our strong relationships and also with the strong work order day. Our houses must be strong and focused on all aspects of clubhouse operation. We know that each member that comes through our doors has goals that are unique. Our clubhouses are built on the foundation of strong and meaningful relationships. And these relationships are exactly what is needed to do all things within the clubhouse. Integrating wellness is no exception. Strong relationships allow us the foundation to have those tough conversations, including those around the aspects of wellness. Additionally, we need the work order day within our clubhouses to be strong as we try to implement new wellness initiatives. The entire day cannot come to a grinding halt while the entire house participates in a yoga class or a review of physical health or any other wellness activity or event. All of the work of Clubhouse continues. We just add to with wellness opportunities and resources for our membership. The work of integrating wellness can begin as many things in the clubhouse begin, with the house meeting to identify where a clubhouse is, where it can grow, and what the membership wants and needs. And a small aside, all of our pictures are from pre-COVID. We are very smart with mask wearing, as evidenced by Denise. Next slide, please.
With our secure foundation of strong relationships and a strong work-ordered day, we can then build wellness-focused opportunities into our programs. The next 2 slides give some examples of ways that Wellspring Clubhouse has worked to integrate wellness into our programming, both at the overall clubhouse level and at the individual member level. First, we'll discuss wellness within the work-ordered day. For number 1, daily wellness opportunities can be encouraged in many ways. At Wellspring, we encourage members and staff to utilize natural breaks during the course of their day to integrate a few minutes of wellness, whether that means taking 5 minutes to walk on the treadmill, sit in the meditation garden, or go on a walk at lunchtime. Clubhouse environments are meant to be reflective of other workplaces in the community. In recent years, the general workplace culture has shifted to a more holistic and wellness-focused dynamic outside the clubhouse world. Many workplaces suggest and encourage their employees to focus on their own wellness throughout the day, and the clubhouse world is no different. Take a look at your own clubhouses and the ways in which your members and staff are currently utilizing natural breaks, and encourage development of new ways to make these moments wellness-focused. Number 2, many of us are operating in a virtual or hybrid world at this point in time. Consider how virtual programming can support wellness at your clubhouse. Wellspring has had a virtual wellness challenge where all members, whether coming on site or just virtually, were sent a wellness log for a month. Members and staff were encouraged to track things that they did throughout the day, all month long, in an effort to increase overall wellness. Some examples could include scheduling annual wellness visits, taking a walk, reducing screen time, and drinking a certain number of glasses of water. Number 3, Wellspring also offers some wellness-specific meetings. We continue to offer what we call Wellspring Watchers. Members and staff who are interested can support one another on weight loss and wellness journeys. During non-COVID times, this can include group trips to the grocery store that help promote building skills and shopping healthy and on a budget. Consider for your own house, our menu planning meetings can incorporate a focus on wellness. Within our menu planning meetings at Wellspring, we encourage everyone to suggest meal options that interest them, and we take the opportunity to discuss how the options that are suggested can be improved from a wellness perspective. For example, instead of spaghetti and meatballs, what if we incorporate some zucchini noodles and swap the beef for turkey meatballs? In our current hybrid virtual format, we've also worked to integrate wellness meetings and opportunities that our community has expressed interest in, including virtual Tai Chi, yoga, and meditation opportunities. Wellness programming can also extend into the evening, the weekend, holidays for our social programming, with virtual or in-person group walks, outdoor games, and other wellness opportunities. Finally, Wellspring does schedule one full wellness day each year where the day is packed with different wellness opportunities that focus on all the dimensions of wellness. Next slide, please.
So if we want to move then from thinking about the programmatic integration of wellness into an individual member's focus on wellness within the clubhouse, we wanted to talk about some of the following ways in which wellness can be incorporated. I also wanted to share a quote that I found last night from another article that I was reading, also by Peggy Swarbrick, where she said, "Wellness is defined as a conscious, deliberate process that requires a person to become aware of and make choices for a more satisfying lifestyle." So that kind of feeds directly into how we work with members one-on-one in terms of helping them build their own wellness through a goal planning process. First, at Wellspring, the relationships between each member and what we call a primary staff are the person with whom a member connects to work on their goals one-on-one and receive that direct and individualized support. And these relationships are really a key component of promoting overall wellness. At Wellspring, we complete an annual what we call strengths-based assessment with each of our members, and then we create and review goals at least every 90 days. So within this strengths-based assessment, we look at all different areas of our members' lives and where they are, what's good about where they are, and where they want to be. And these reflect to the psychiatric rehabilitation domains and also relate directly to all of the 8 domains of wellness. We ask members if they have specific wellness concerns in all of these areas, and then we connect people with support and resources in any areas that are identified. At Wellspring, one of our primary funding sources requires that we ask all members to sign a release of information for their primary healthcare providers. At first, we were a little bit taken aback by this, but then we realized that we can use this as a great tool with our membership. And of course, we are not in the practice of calling a member's doctor without them, but having that conversation early with our members allows us to really make their wellness and their holistic wellness a priority, and helps us to step into conversations around, hey, maybe we can call your doctor about this whenever things are coming up. As we complete the strengths-based assessment, we're able to work alongside our members to identify all of their current strengths and areas for growth in all aspects of wellness. From these identified areas, we create individual goals and action steps, and we support our members in moving towards these individualized goals. In addition to that goal planning process, there's also more hands-on, direct individual support that can be offered related to any goals. Members might be supported in scheduling appointments or obtaining transportation to those appointments, and whatever they might need to work towards action steps towards the goals they've identified. This obviously can look very different depending on the member and what their interests are and what goals they're working towards. A member who, for instance, has a wellness goal related to their home environment, the environment domain of wellness, they might be working to build some organizational skills while at Clubhouse that they can transfer to their home. Or they might work alongside a staff or with members or even independently in the work unit to create a home cleaning and organizing checklist or schedule. A member with an occupational goal might be working towards obtaining a TE, SE, or IE. And a member with a physical health goal might be sitting with staff to make a call to a doctor that they might not have seen in quite some time. And maybe they'll get some support to actually get to that appointment as well. The ways in which we can help our members work towards their wellness goals are as dynamic and varied as our programs. There are a myriad of ways in which members can be supported towards these wellness goals. It's also really important that we stress the value of working collaboratively with others throughout this wellness process, again, alongside our members. So to whatever extent our members are interested in receiving that integrated support, we can work alongside their identified, closest friends, closest family members, and other professionals that might be involved within their team so that we can really work together with our members towards their own wellness goals. Next slide, please. And finally, we just wanted to also let everyone know that there is now a wellness committee through Clubhouse International, and this committee has been meeting since March. It's comprised of Clubhouse members, staff, directors, and staff from Clubhouse International. And in this committee, we've been working to put together a wellness manual that will assist the international Clubhouse community in implementing even more wellness-related work. Some of the things that will be included in this manual will be an overview of the 8 dimensions of wellness, a research bibliography, some wellness self-assessment and survey examples, and information on accessing and participating in getting the best possible health care. So this can include how clubhouses can help our members with support both before, during, and after interaction with other medical providers. Clubhouse articles, descriptions of health fairs, and information on integrating wellness in the social program is all some of the meat that will be going into this wellness manual, and we look forward to helping to get that out for all of our clubhouses. And with that, Wellspring is going to pass it off to our friends Karina and Christina over in Toronto.
Thank you, Jill and Denise. That was a really great presentation. I took down a couple of notes there. Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us this morning. At least in Toronto, it's morning. My name is Karina, and I'm from the cafe unit at Progress Place. I've been here for about 7 years now. And before we begin, I guess I'll introduce my co-presenter, Christina. And today we're here to talk a little bit about the evolution of our health and wellness program and sort of some of the lessons we've learned along the way. So before we start, Christina, did you want to give yourself a little introduction?
Yes. Hi, I'm Christina from Progress Place. I first came to the clubhouse back in 2014. And in the beginning, I was a part of the clerical unit. However, I left the clerical unit in 2018 and moved to the cafe unit because I realized I had a goal of learning how to cook for myself, and what better place to learn how to cook than however, I left the clerical unit in 2018 and moved to the cafe unit because I realized I had a goal of learning how to cook for myself, and what better place to learn than a fully equipped kitchen.
Can we get the first slide? So you might be wondering what a cafe member and staff are doing on a health and wellness panel. So we'll have you know that at the Progress Place, the cafe unit has actually had a very long history in engaging our members and staff in healthier living, from cooking healthier meals from scratch to developing creative workout routines. It really often feels like we've been doing this for a really long time. But one of the fun facts we like to share with people when they come through the doors, and especially when they come to our health and wellness rooms surrounded by all of our gym equipment that we get through our donors, is that the room they're standing in actually used to be our smokers room, which is super mind-blowing for a lot of people. And the food that they see us cooking, all the healthy homemade meals and snacks, it wasn't that long ago that our clubhouse was serving burgers and fries and pop on a regular basis. So how did we make such a big change? Well, it really started off with us recognizing that there was a huge disparity between the life expectancy of people living with mental illness and the average population, as I think it's been repeated in both our introduction and the previous presentation, we all know the fact that people living with mental illness on average live about 25 years less than the average population, which is a huge fact. So this information really made it clear that there was a definite connection between physical and mental illness. And once this was brought to the knowledge of the clubhouse, we quickly got to work. And of course, again, as mentioned previously, we took a look at our clubhouse and made sure we had a strong work order day, great working relationships with our community, and we had a thriving TEP program before we stepped into this new role. So in our early days, we really began to set up exercise groups of members, which came up with, such groups as our stretching group and light cardio workout and the walking group. Next slide. We also began to take a good look at how we planned our meals and what types of food we were offering at the clubhouse. And this began our relationship with cooking more homemade meals where we could control what we were putting in our food and what we were offering in our foods. Next slide. And as a result of that, one of the activities or options we provided for our clubhouse was actually our healthy half, as you can see from our flashback poster here from way back when. It's actually, so when we cook meals, sometimes it can be a bit carb heavy and our members and staff would like a little bit more healthier. And so they actually have the option to choose half of the entree and get the other half as a salad at no additional cost. So really, our health and wellness journey began as one that was full of options and choices that our members and staff could make for themselves and really take that first step towards healthy living at their own pace. Next slide.
As a member, I can say that this focus of health and wellness from the clubhouse has really impacted my life. In fact, what originally attracted me to the cafe unit was because I wanted to learn not only how to cook for myself, but how to cook healthy meals. In 2015, I began to see a liver specialist and was then diagnosed with a fatty liver. My specialist began to monitor my condition for about 2 years before discussing with me about the potential of doing a biopsy. At the time, I was very scared to do this procedure, so my liver specialist gave me a 3-year time frame to start losing weight in order to regain a healthy liver. The recommendation at the time was to eat healthy and exercise more. Since joining the cafe unit, I have been inspired to cook more on my own at home. The clubhouse has given me so many ideas. I now have a creative salad for each meal I cook at home. Last year, I even began to join the walking group thanks to an enthusiastic placement student we had and a group of committed workers that encouraged me to try it out with them. But Karina, I know we have more than just home cooked meals at the clubhouse.
Next slide. You're absolutely right, Christina. The introduction of healthier foods and physical activities was really just a starting point for us. In growing our health and wellness activities, we really hope to be able to root the values of healthy living into the culture of our clubhouse. And one way we've been able to work towards this is by having more health and wellness education around the clubhouse, both through our health and wellness discussions that we have on a weekly basis, and as well as in developing some partnerships within our community. One of the partnerships that we have is actually with a dietitian and a diabetes nurse from the Regent Park Health Center. And they actually come in every other month and work with our membership to build workshops that we're interested in our community. So some of that could be things on diabetes, it could be on vitamins, you name it, we've done it. And one of the things that we've actually really enjoyed doing with them is they've taken us out on outings to such as our local supermarket, where we learn about different healthy foods and non-healthy food, and we learn how to read food labels and compare those as well. Next slide. In fact, last year, we actually celebrated our 10th annual Health and Wellness Fair, in which we invited a variety of community partners to come up to the clubhouse and set up information tables. And it really was a chance for our community, both members and staff, to connect with the resources and become aware of what's available around us.
That was actually the first health and wellness fair I've ever attended. I remember being very impressed by the number of community partners that were there and how busy it was with other members gathering around different information tables. I think there must have been over 18 community organizations there, from the YMCA to Toronto Public Health. and even the Sherburne Health Bus was parked outside. My health and wellness knowledge definitely leveled up that day.
Slide, please. Well, the health and wellness certainly is a highlight of the year for Progress Place. It's the result of months of planning by members and staff tirelessly in preparing for the event. Every year we begin the same. We go around the clubhouse and we ask members and staff what services and resources they're interested in learning more about. And then the cafe unit gets straight to work by looking at organizations and finding out who we can contact around the community to invite them to join us at the event. There is a lot of work to be done, and it definitely fills up our work order day, especially the months leading up to it. But of course, the cafe unit can't have all the fun, and so we do recruit our first floor unit to help with our promotional material and our clerical unit to help with our outreach of members and our community actually to come and join us. And of course, the cafe unit does what we do best, as you can see in our pictures there, coming up with some creative, healthy snacks that we can serve the day of. It really is a gift of love to the clubhouse for us. So one of the most amazing unintended results of the fair is actually the conversations that occur at our unit meetings after the event. In these conversations, we often hear what sort of health and wellness topics and activities people were interested in during the event. And in turn, we look for ways to incorporate these new ideas into the culture of the clubhouse, whether that's simply adding new and exciting topics to our discussions or just remembering to share resources when we're at our unit meeting. Slide, next slide. Our clubhouse is always evolving to meet members' needs. And one of the great ways we've actually been able to do this is our introduction of our health and wellness survey, which we complete once a year. This has really helped us keep a pulse on how we can support members in engaging in a healthier lifestyle. And as you can see from our points, the survey really provides us with a great opportunity to discuss what our members' wellness goals are, address gaps in services that they're receiving and maybe not receiving, and as well gain some feedback for our clubhouse activities and how we can improve or provide better activities for our members. Next slide. At the clubhouse, we've learned how important it is to have conversations with members around their healthcare needs. It's incredible how much information you can learn by simply asking a few questions. When we first introduced the Health and Wellness Survey, one of the most surprising results was how many members didn't have family physicians and were utilizing walk-in clinics as their healthcare needs. This spoke volumes in terms of the continuation of care and, in return, the quality of care that they were receiving. And so by being able to spot these gaps in service and needs, we as a clubhouse was able to be better equipped at providing support for our members. And also it was a really great way in doing the survey to reflect the culture of health and wellness that was happening in the clubhouse and how we could have a better impact on our community. As a matter of fact, one of the important tasks of our health and wellness survey is to continuously reevaluate it every year when we're done using it. We need to make sure that our survey is reflecting the barriers and needs that are happening around our community. So going back to the example of our family physician, that was one of the first questions we asked in our first edition of the Health and Wellness Survey. And our additional ones later on, we actually had to add the question of whether or not our members were getting yearly physicals with their doctors, because that was a great indicator of how well they were actually engaging with their healthcare services. Next slide. So what we wanted to do with the survey, though, is not to have our membership share their wellness goals and needs and then kind of not know what to do with it afterwards. So it was really important for us that when we were going to have the questionnaire, that we would have a resource sheet that they could take with them. And this resource sheet allows the member to sit down with our staff and kind of go through actionable steps for what they can do in order to gain some of the goals that they've identified for themselves.
What I really like about the clubhouse is the support I regularly get from my contact person. That's how we call our work at Progress Place for my wellness goals. I really appreciate the conversations I have with her when she checks in with me. I remember mentioning to her one time that I was beginning my weight loss journey and was really starting to take an interest in nutrition and diet. She suggested I bring some of the knowledge and share it at the health and wellness discussion with the rest of the clubhouse. I enjoyed the discussion so much. I've actually started to do more research around it and has gotten me interested in going back to school to study nutrition.
Next slide. So Progress Place is continuing to strive to find new ways, new and innovative ways to incorporate health and wellness into the clubhouse. One of the ways we've been doing it is actually using the guidelines for evaluating a clubhouse's wellness initiative and really using that to guide the future of our health and wellness programming. So we've started things like from integrating floor hockey and stretching to our evening and weekend program, to connecting with our community wellness resources, to really tapping into our members' strengths and interests to provide more healthy options around the clubhouse. One part of the guideline, though, that we as a clubhouse have recognized that we really need to start focusing on is actually our ability to have measurable outcomes and better data collection in terms of the impact our activities and health and wellness programming at the clubhouse is doing. So next slide. Hence, moving forward, one of our new projects that we're actually doing is looking at how we can better evaluate our health and wellness activities. We've been incredibly lucky to have a partnership with a research student from the University of McMaster to help develop this evaluation tool. But we're really just in the beginning phases. And what we really hope to do is end up having a set of tools that we can use and see what kind of impact our activities are actually having on our community and where we can implement new improvements. Next slide. So the idea is that we look at the health and wellness program using the logic model, as you can see from this setup, to help determine how effective our activities are. And to begin, we're going to be choosing 2 activities to look at, and we're going to brainstorm what the goals of those activities are and what the outcome we actually want from these activities are going to be. And then the next step we're going to do is discuss how we might best gather this data, whether that's key informant interviews or doing a survey. Of course, all this is keeping in mind that we'll be able to replicate this over the years across different types of activities, which is why it's so important to make sure that the way we're planning this right now is something that is doable for the clubhouse. So of course, our ideal end result for the project is that we have this set of evaluation tools that we can apply to all of our health and wellness activities, which is actually why we're starting this project now, even though most of our health and wellness activities right now are being done online, virtually, versus in person, which can be quite different. But the idea is that it shouldn't matter where we're doing these health and wellness activities. This evaluation tool should be able to evaluate goals and outcomes just the same. And what we're finding is that right now, more than ever, we need to have some concrete data to help us better engage and plan our activities to ensure that it's having the most impact on our community's well-being. So this is why we're really excited to be embarking on this new adventure, and we think it really will add to how we approach our planning of health and wellness activities at Progress Place. So I guess that gives you a pretty good understanding of where we came from and where we're sort of heading towards with our health and wellness program right now.
Yeah, I think we've just covered everything. I just want to say that the clubhouse has been very supportive in my wellness journey. It provided me with a good starting point in learning to take better care of myself. I can proudly say I now have a positive relationship with myself through a healthier lifestyle. The clubhouse helps me recognize that I always have a choice in what I do, from what I eat to what activities I take part. I also now see a dietitian to help me further along in my wellness journey. I'm happy to share that I have now lost 50 pounds and I'm a lot less afraid to see my liver specialist. I can't wait to see what the future brings for our health and wellness program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. For those of you that have a question they would like to ask, please submit your questions in the Q&A panel located in the bottom right-hand side of your screen, or by pressing the 3-dot option along the bottom and selecting the Q&A panel. Lisa Kessler will be our moderator today for Q&A.
Hi, everybody, and thank you to Wellspring and to Progress Place and to Dr. Aquila for those wonderful presentations. And now we're excited to hear from our participants what else you guys would like to get some further information on. So Jessica, first question, please.
Thank you, Lisa. Why should clubhouses in particular be concerned about wellness?
Great. Jill and Denise, you guys want to take that question first?
Sure. So I think because we care about our members, right? So I think it's a very simple off the bat question for me. We care about our members and their well-being in all aspects of their lives. And, you know, clubhouses are there to help the whole person, right? Like I think about, like, we work alongside the treatment team. We're not treatment, we're helping rebuild all those other areas of people's lives. So wellness is absolutely what that is to me. I don't know if Denise has anything she wants to add to that.
Denise, do you want to add anything to that? No? How about Karina? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, love to just repeat what Jill has said. It's definitely a part of our clubhouse work, right? And especially with what we were talking about in terms of social determinants of health, we can't really ever look at just one aspect of a person. If you're helping them maintain, you know, their wellness goals along with education work, it's a well-rounded thing that we have to look at. So it's only natural, I think, that the clubhouse gets involved and is a source of support for our membership in terms of their wellness goals. I don't know, Christina, do you have anything to add?
Not really, no.
And Ralph, from sort of a medical perspective, I'm wondering if you have any additional thoughts.
So I would just add that all of us, regardless of serious mental illness or whatever, need support, need community. One of the things that we didn't touch on as much as we probably should have is isolation and loneliness. They kill. And Clubhouse is, as I said at the beginning, one of the greatest examples in my professional life and personal life of providing that community. And I just think that the clubhouses need to lead the way to the rest of the healthcare world on how community is so essential in getting people what they need.
Great, thank you so much. Next question, Jessica.
How does Wellsprings assess if wellness goals are being achieved?
I'm guessing that one's going to be me. So we go over our goal plans at the very longest that we go in between actually looking at someone's goal plan would be 90 days. But our conversations with members around their wellness goals are happening all day, every day. So once we know what someone's goal is and what, like, within that goal planning process, we're not only looking at what the end goal is, but what the steps and resources are needed to help people get there. So the conversation doesn't just happen when you make the goal and then you kind of go back to it 90 days later and say, well, where'd you get to? It becomes, okay, well, these are the resources you need. Which ones do people want to get to on their own? Which ones do they need some help with? So there's a kind of regular communication that happens around those goals and regular kind of reminders and support that's offered to help people get there. And then, of course, data and tracking outcomes and, you know, keeping track of how many people did achieve goals in any of their identified goal areas as we move through.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I just want to note, I see a question in the Q&A regarding copies of the surveys and the goal sheet and other documents. And I wanted to just let you all know that we will send out a follow-up email that will include a link to the recording, the surveys, the PowerPoint presentation. So you'll be able to access all those resources afterwards. So Jessica, can we get the next question, please?
Why do people living with mental illness have such a premature mortality rate?
Ralph, I believe you had touched upon that in your opening, so if we could take that question.
Sure. I think that we have some partial answers. Fountain House was involved a number of years ago in an epidemiological study that was published in the World Psychiatric Association. That was in December of 15. That basically underscored some of the numbers that you heard about the excess mortality, in particular in certain serious mental illness. And without a doubt, the medications that many of us take are certainly part of what the problem is. But then again, I would also say that poverty and being in a low income bracket is a major factor there. If you don't have access to quality foods or can't afford quality foods, it's going to be really challenging. And again, if you don't have the kind of supports that we said, you're not going to be able to change things. I mean, just one quick thing, not to be too technical, but how community can be helpful, and some of the things you heard from both Wellspring and Progress Place, how doing group activities can be essential, right? So, for example, measurements of diabetes. Well, there's a measurement called hemoglobin A1C, which is a 90-day average. If people start exercising, those numbers are going to get better. As far as cholesterol, good cholesterol, right, or HDLs, high-density lipoproteins, if you start exercising and the group is behind you, the community is behind you, we can actually raise that and lower the bad cholesterol. And lastly, I would say, yes, there are some genetic components, and those may be more challenging to change. But again, I think the first two issues of looking at medications, making sure you're on the least medication that's going to, the least dose and the least amount that's going to cause any side effects, such as metabolic syndrome, and exercise and the community is going to be key in helping us to overcome these numbers.
Lisa, I believe you're muted.
I'm sorry about that. Thank you so much. I believe we can move on to the next question.
Thank you. Do your clubhouses include addiction recovery programs of any sort? And will there be guidelines regarding addiction recovery in the wellness manual that is being developed?
Great. So, Jill, do you want to cover that from the wellness manual perspective, and then we can have Progress Place talk about their addiction recovery programming at Progress Place?
Sure. So from the Wellness Committee manual perspective, I could say I think that's a great idea, and we can certainly incorporate that. I will say that I myself am not familiar with how much of that is relevant stateside versus overseas and what those different resources would look like internationally, but we can certainly look into it. I think certainly looking into addiction and addiction-related resources obviously directly relates to people's wellness and recovery overall. So we can definitely figure out what needs to be included, and we're more than interested in taking feedback from people about what they would like to see in that. So Anita is the staff from Clubhouse International who is kind of helping to oversee the Wellness Committee, or you can reach out to me or anyone else on this panel with any ideas.
Great, thank you. Irina?
So yeah, Progress Place actually does have, we call it the double recovery program. So it's for ME members that are living with addiction and mental illness. And they meet on a weekly basis. I'm not quite sure what the setup is right now because I've actually just come back to the clubhouse from my mat leave, but since COVID times, I think they do still meet actually over Zoom. And the idea is that it's a peer-to-peer support service where they have that community where they can support each other. And every week they have different discussions supporting sort of where they're at in their addiction, and just really being a place where they can feel safe and share information with each other and support.
Great. And Ralph, did you have anything to add from the Fountain House and the
Sure. I would just add that at Fountain House, we've been looking at this issue for many, many years. Back in the early 90s in the state of New York, the Double Trouble movement was started, as many of you are aware of, and I think Karina alluded to just now. So we've been involved with Double Trouble meetings, both in-house and with partners in the community. But I think that is a great idea. I'm also part of the Wellness Committee, Clubhouse International Wellness Committee, and I think we do need to look at that a bit closer. And Jill, I think, yeah, we definitely should bring that back because that's something that needs to be addressed because, as you know, large percentage, again, unfortunately, there's a larger percentage of people with serious mental illness have addiction disorders as compared to the general population.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Jessica?
This is a two-part question. How do you make sure you are protecting your work-ordered day? And do you offer wellness-type groups and activities during the day?
Karina and Christina, would you guys like to take that question first?
This is actually a great question because not recently, pre-COVID shutdown, we actually did start opening up our gym downstairs for like drop-in sessions. But a part of that was making sure that it was still ingrained in the work order day. And Christina, you actually did a lot of the work for it. Do you want to talk about sort of what we did?
Okay, now I'm really sorry about that. Can you please repeat the question again?
Certainly. How do you make sure you are protecting your work-ordered day, and do you offer wellness-type groups and activities?
Okay,
So maybe talk a little bit about the orientation thing that we've started up at the clubhouse.
so do you want me to talk about the orientation? Okay, so in the beginning of 2020, around January, February, we were planning to do a weekly orientation for members because we saw that members didn't actually know how to use the equipment properly because we had treadmills, we had bicycles, we have, different types of equipment, right? So we found that members didn't know how to use the equipment properly. So we decided to get some members who knew the equipment well and teach other members. So we made an orientation. I also helped facilitate because I've learned how to use the medicine ball, and I love working out with it. And I saw from the gym at Progress Place that we have some of those. So I helped facilitate in the orientation how to stretch with the ball. And yeah, and then after the orientation, we given some health and wellness packages for members. The Canadian food guide, how long and how many days you should be working out. What else? It's pretty much I would so far remember.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great example of sort of how just because you have these physical workout exercise activities, it doesn't mean that it doesn't integrate into our work order day. There's a lot of work that's involved in having them. So with our orientation, there's a lot of research going involved in providing these information pamphlets for our community. Like Christina said, we're tapping into our members and staff strengths. Like they know how to use the machines, show the rest of us because we don't necessarily know how. Even with our health and wellness discussions, there's a lot of research going involved in the discussion topic. There's definitely ways to incorporate it into the work order day. And I think if you're able to do that, it actually enriches the health and wellness culture of the clubhouse because it becomes a part of us and it becomes just the way we do things.
Great. Thank you so much. Jill and Denise?
I would just add that I think the most important thing is that you have a strong work order day to begin with. So if your work order day is really struggling and you're like, okay, let's just throw in this at this time of day, like the pieces are going to start falling apart. So to Karina's point, like you build things in that already work within the work order day. And then as to the question of like, are there groups or things like that are happening? Like, per standards, we don't have groups, right, that happen within the clubhouse, things like that. But what we really focus on is like finding natural breaks within your workday, right? So it's not like the whole day stops or everything comes to a grinding halt. Like unit work is still happening, but maybe there's like a couple people that are doing Tai Chi over here when they have like 5 minutes in between. So like if you think about anybody in any workplace, like you're not working straight through nonstop from the minute you get there to the minute you go. In any workplace, any of us might be like getting up, taking a stretch, going and saying hi to a coworker, those sorts of things. So using those moments, or, like maybe you're having like your brain stuck on something and you're having like a mental block on whatever you're working on, and you need a few minutes to kind of rejuvenate. So we encourage people to kind of find natural breaks in their work day and in the work of the work every day to say, hey, you want to take a 5-minute walk with me? I need some fresh air. Like those kinds of things, like they happen in any other workplace. So there's no reason that they can't happen within a clubhouse. But having a strong work order day first and strong relationships first is definitely where it has to start from.
Great, thank you. Jessica?
Have you experienced any pushback from members and or staff in regards to implementing the many wellness initiatives?
So Denise, I wonder if you would be interested in answering that question from the member perspective.
Can you repeat it one more time, Jessica?
Certainly. Have you experienced any pushback from members and or staff in regards to implementing the many wellness initiatives?
No, I haven't. I've experienced nothing but like positivity and encouragement, and overall just helping us to get back on our feet again and to help us with whatever we need help with in whatever facet of our life we need help. So it's helped me incredibly in the past year. So it's been a blessing.
Great, thanks. And Jill, do you feel like that's sort of a good encapsulation of most of your community?
I think so. I think, there's always times when we say, okay, like, hey, at 1 o'clock, we're going to have this available on Zoom if you want. And some people may or may not choose to do it. We try to make things that are more physical in nature as accessible as possible. I would say there's different levels of interest. Some people are more interested in the menu planning maybe than in some of like the physical exercises and things like that. But in general, especially when it gets down to that individualized level where you're working with people one-on-one on what their own wellness goals are, we've seen pretty good engagement across the board.
Thank you. And how about from you guys at Progress Place, Christina or Karina?
I think very similarly when it's in terms of like the one-on-one goals, we have pretty good engagement with that. Like our membership is quite receiving of it. I'm trying to think. The one thing that really pops in my mind is one of the biggest hurdles we actually had was trying to reduce drinking of pop at our clubhouse. When that was a huge hurdle, and we actually had some pushback for that for years. And one of the ways I think that really has helped us is that education piece, bringing in more health and wellness education, having more discussions. And I am proud to say, I think as of maybe the year before, through our decision-making meeting, the clubhouse itself actually came together and agreed not to sell pop at the clubhouse anymore. And a huge thing with that as well was I think a lot of our membership was kind of worried about not being able to have options. And we reminded them that they could still bring pop into the clubhouse. We're not restricting that. It's just a matter of, by having it in the clubhouse sometimes, it's a temptation for a lot of people. And it's sort of that extra support piece for everyone not to have that temptation. And in taking it away, we're actually replacing it with other options. So options are always available. And I think that was a really huge part for us and a really big learning curve. Is that, you can't make anyone do anything, but it's nice to have those options available for people to engage when they're ready to engage.
That's a great point. Thank you.
I just wanted to jump in there. That basically when you provide respect and collegiality, things get done. And the whole concept in healthcare nowadays is this another buzz phrase of shared decision making. Well, that's something that we've done in our community for 70 years. So again, I think those are some of the key issues that one needs to look at whenever you're introducing anything new, whether it be wellness or whatever subject matter.
Yes, great point. Thank you. Jessica?
Do you think it changes the culture of the clubhouse to a more clinical feel if you're asking about annual physicals and other medical information?
So Karina, if you want to just take that from the survey point of view.
I don't think so at all, because it's, again, about the relationship building, right? The hope is that by members coming in, you're building those strong relationships with them and you're able to have these conversations with them. Our role really is to support them in their goal. And that's not necessarily us giving them a diagnosis or us, assessing them. We're really talking in partnership with them, with members, and working together to create whatever it is their end wellness goal is. And I don't think it makes it clinical because it's a part of our everyday conversation. Aside from our health and wellness survey, we actually do check-ins with our membership on a pretty regular basis anyways. How are you doing? How was your last doctor's appointment? And those come up naturally in our conversations to begin with. This just sort of gives us a format of sitting down and being like, here are some resources as well. Let's talk it through if you feel like it. And again, it's that option piece, right? If members don't feel like answering it, we're not making anyone do it. It's all up to their own comfort level.
Great. Did you have anything to add, Christina?
Like this. Oh, I'm on mute?
No, you're not. Now you're good.
Okay, sorry. I do appreciate when I have check-ins with my contact, especially because it's COVID times now. And here in Toronto, we have we're over 1,000 now here. So I live at least almost an hour away from the clubhouse. So it's no way for me to come to the clubhouse because I live too far, and that's the reason why I can't really come. But I do appreciate, when my contact calls me 1 week and just checks how am I doing, and chatting with her at least half an hour really, helps me a lot. Yeah.
Thank you. And Ralph, I was wondering if from the clinical perspective, you had anything to add to that question.
Well, I would just add, I ask my wife quite often, did she take her cholesterol pill? Is that clinical or is that a sign of caring and love?
Good point. Thank you. Okay, Jessica.
Have you seen any specific changes over time from your annual wellness survey data?
Yeah, so Karina, again, I'm not sure, have you guys sort of done a data analysis from the year to year on the survey, or is it just sort of capturing moment in time?
It's more a little bit capturing moment in time. The idea is to eventually be able to capture some data and be able to utilize that. But I think one reason why we're doing this whole evaluation outcome tool set is because we find that we're doing these surveys and we're getting this information, but we're not quite utilizing it as efficiently as we're able to. And so the idea, hopefully, is we can use the evaluation tool to evaluate things like the health and wellness survey to make it more efficient and get those data that we do need and be able to get an overall picture. At the moment, from the best of my knowledge, I know we do get some data collection, but I don't know how much we're actually using it. But it does give us a great conversation tool with our membership and really start off from there. But we do have some. I'm not sure how exactly it's being used at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think each of the presenters today have touched on this issue of sort of data collection. I think it's really important for us to keep in mind as we move forward in terms of actually being able to share and report our outcomes as opposed to just collecting them, which we've historically been good at. But now the next step of actually synthesizing and reporting on them is I think a goal for our entire community moving forward. Jessica, do we have another question?
Yep, we'll go with 2 more questions. Since most of us are working in a hybrid model, what are some of the virtual wellness initiatives that work and get those at home involved?
Good question. Jill and Denise, if you guys would like to take that one first.
Sure. Denise, did you want to jump in first? Do you want me to jump in first?
I can real quick. A lot of people love, we have like an art night, wellness watchers. We do a lot of different activities. We tell different jokes. We do different presentations about different holidays. So we do a lot of different, have a lot of different aspects that bring everyone together and to participate and to be focused on themselves and their wellness with their physical, mental, and emotional, and the whole facet. So just kind of bringing everyone into like mandalas and different art structures and different things like that that really help with grounding, mindfulness, which is imperative to even start anywhere. So they really help us focus on these different skills and traits.
Yeah, I would agree. So a lot of what Denise is speaking to is we've been really using Zoom. We really love Zoom right now at Wellspring. Each of our work units has their own Zoom. And when we're planning our social calendar, we've actually done, I think, really well with virtual social programming. So we have like a weekly virtual art night. And then, for our virtual holiday programming, we'll typically schedule so that there's like a set schedule so that members can choose to join any aspect of the holiday activity that they want. Like we had a staff who was at the shore for a summer holiday. So there was like a walk on the beach in the morning and you could walk with the staff, take your own walk, those sorts of things. But really, again, just, connecting with your community about what kinds of things they're interested in has been really helpful for us. We had mentioned we tried our first wellness challenge in October, and we're going to be trying to revamp it and put it out again for January, since we all know we love to kind of make all new resolutions and all new goals in the new year, and who is not ready for 2021 and some new forward movement. So just, really, again, taking it back to your membership and seeing how you can utilize your virtual programming to promote wellness. But social programming has definitely been really, really huge for us for that. Oh, and we also are putting together a cookbook that we're really excited about. So that's something that we've been able to do virtually and kind of encourage any members, staff, advisory board members who have any recipes that they want to contribute. And that's all work that can be done virtually by members and staff who are in the clubhouse or not, in terms of, typing things up, getting them all in one format, those sorts of things. So just like within the clubhouse, there's no limit to the ideas and the places to take things.
Great, thank you so much. And from you guys at Progress Place?
Yeah, Zoom is the best. Our entire health and wellness activity programming is pretty much on Zoom. We're doing yoga and like health and wellness discussions. All of that is done through that platform really for us at the moment. We were doing some walking group, but in Toronto, today it started snowing. So we're hoping to squeeze a few more walking groups out in the community, but it's probably going to slow down for a bit. But really, yeah, it's keeping that community going even when people are at home. We're also doing things like our resource sharing community that also meets on Zoom. So things that you would typically the clubhouse, we're trying to translate that onto our Zoom platform as well as we can, and people can participate in a manner that they want, whether that's doing the physical activity or just sharing resources, which is so key, changing on a day-to-day basis for us. Christina, did you want to add any?
Okay, now can you guys hear me? Okay, so I joined the Sit and Be Fit class. It's on Zoom a couple of weeks ago, and I really liked how it was a complete workout just sitting down, and I really felt my legs toned up because it was really good. I really liked it. We also have our health and wellness discussion every week, once a week. So, and it's always different. I know that as well, because I want to go back to school to study nutrition. So it's going to be a good opportunity for me to keep being active with those discussions. I remember I used to facilitate some of the discussions as well. Yeah.
And in fact, actually, over health and wellness discussion, that's still a really main tool for us to maintain some of our community partners, because we've invited them onto our Zoom to help facilitate conversations with our members. And we've asked members if they're interested in any particular resource or topics. And we try to invite some of our community partners to come in and actually participate in that as well. So that gives us that outreach still and be involved in our greater community.
Great, thank you guys so much. Jessica, did we have one final question? I know we're running out of time.
We do. So I'll go ahead and ask the last question. I will remind everyone that if your question has not been answered today, you are more than welcome to reach out to the WANA webinar group. It's wanawebinar@fountainhouse.org. So the last question will be, do you have any recommendations for clubhouses that want to strengthen the wellness program?
Jill and Denise, would you guys like to take that first? Any tips or strategies for clubhouses that are trying to strengthen their program?
I think the first thing that I would say is, start with a conversation in your clubhouse community. So have a house meeting and hear from your membership, hear from your staff, hear from your community about where people think things are and what's most needed. And then there's lots of great resources, both through this webinar, through Clubhouse International. Reach out for support, reach out to a clubhouse that might be strong in wellness. And, we love stealing ideas from each other. And I'm sure, that's a tradition that will continue indefinitely. So just start with looking at where you are and figuring out where you want to be. Denise, anything to add?
I always like to take baby steps, and I know that fear hinders a lot of people and holds people back. So don't be fearful or scared. Start small and grow from there.
Great point. Excellent. Karina and Christina?
I'm not sure there's much more I can add. Jill kind of really covered it. I love the idea of continually steal other people's ideas because it's the best. You know, there's listen and hear what sort of conversations are going on, what other clubhouses are doing, gather as much, and then sort of bringing it back, but making sure that it fits in with your clubhouse and where they're at. Back to that idea of having a very strong work order day, a very strong, you know, employment program to begin with, sort of the basis of what a clubhouse is, and then building up from that. Because as I think we've mentioned in our discussions now and in our presentations, you know, there's not a lot of point in having that exercise group if you don't have that work order day sort of studied and ready. And the relationships with the community, right? It's really key to have that before building upon it to have a strong health and wellness program. Christina, anything you want to add?
I would even say maybe like create a committee and encourage other members to be part of it, and then just brainstorm some ideas of how you would like encourage the clubhouse for any wellness, health and wellness ideas.
Great, yeah. Great idea. Thank you guys so much. And Ralph, do you have anything to add in summary?
I would just say that clubhouses, especially clubhouses who have really done some great work, as we heard today on wellness, have an imperative to share what they have done in their communities. And I've always seen clubhouses as being the beacon. We talk about social determinants of health, as we said at the beginning. Clubhouses have been looking at this for 70 years. We talk about shared decision making, again, other buzz phrases, and clubhouses have been doing this forever. So I really feel, even in this time, for the mental health world.
Great, thank you so much. Yes, I love this idea that, you know, we are an international global community and we share ideas with each other. And that's how we learn and continue to grow. So thank you guys all so much for this really wonderful discussion and your presentations. Again, I just want to note I see some more questions about resources that we can share, including the article that Dr. Aquila cited from 2015, and we'll make sure to get that to everybody for your reference. And be on the lookout for announcements regarding our next webinar. We can intend to continue hosting these as long as they're beneficial to our community.
Thank you, Lisa. Again, as a reminder, if you have not had your question answered today, please send an email to wannawebinar@fountainhouse.org. The PowerPoint presentation for today's session will be sent directly to everyone in attendance, and the recording will be made available next week. There will be a short survey on screen once the event ends today. Please take a moment to fill it out to give us your feedback. Thank you all for joining today's webinar, and be on the lookout for announcements for future webinars. Have a wonderful day.